Right, Jake's pressing some buttons, so we're ready to go on Wednesday, the 12th of March, 2025. For Podful of Saints, the aforementioned Jake there. Good afternoon, Jake. So we're doing this at lunchtime for a change.
Is it a good afternoon? Hello, Dave. Hello, everyone. It's been quite the week.
Of course, it's a good afternoon. I've got you and Lee Wood on my screen.
You need to sort of raise your expectations a little bit higher, Dave, I think, mate. Go on. Good afternoon, boys. Let's get this over and done with, shall we?
Oh, we've got three magnificent games to look back on. 1-1 draw with Weymouth at Clarets Park Saturday, a 2-1 defeat Chelmsford City on Monday. Those two games got something connecting them, time of goals, and then a cup performance last night. I'm going to chuck some records in there to start with, because this is a magnificent season for the club. We've set record after record, like lowest points after a certain number of games, lowest goals after a number of games, etc. Right. On Saturday, we scored one goal. It's the 20th time we've done it in the league this season. That's a new club record. And not in all competitions, though. I think it's about 24 times we've done it in a season. And it was also our 12th 1-1 draw, which is a new club record for a season. Last night, at Glorious Heart Charity Cup defeat, was our 1,000th game without scoring. There could be a few more for the end of the season where we're going. And it was also a record home defeat in the Hearts Charity Cup. So it's a record-breaking night last night at the park. Right, we're going back to last Saturday. 1-1 draw with Weymouth. What an awful game. Two abysmal sides on that performance, from what we saw, but both can do better than that, surely. Did you two take anything encouraging from it? We'll come on to the late goal in a minute, no doubt.
Oh, thanks, Lee. No, there wasn't much to take from that, was it? It was a real disappointment, unfortunately. There's been a couple of slight wobbles in recent weeks, hasn't there? Just a few areas of some concern, and then apart from the opening 15 minutes, it was a City display to forget. And for a while, it looked like we'd gotten away with it, but then unfortunately, we didn't, and it all went a bit wrong. Before the game, I was a little bit nervous. Lee was very confident, and then one supporter, I think Matt, started talking about how Weymouth were unbeaten in three and had started to score goals, and the anxiety started to kick in the pub in pre-match, and turned out to be accurate because it was just really poor generally from the Saints. And I thought you saw that in Ian's post-match interview. So I don't think it was just Saints fans who were disappointed by it all.
He wasn't chuffed with it, was he? That's for sure. Um, One of the many things he blamed was the pitch. Now, that pitch has been bobbly for years. But it's really noticeable now. He's got green on it, but it's awful at the moment. It's a poor state. It's worse than Welling's pitch, no doubt about that. Theirs looks brown. You don't expect much, but at least it held up, which is unfortunate. The club's got to do something about that. It's got to address the pitch, but it's got bigger problems to address before that, haven't we? Like the 11 players we put out there. What did you take from Saturday, Lee?
Yeah, just getting back to Jake's point, actually, I was quite confident. Not in an arrogant way, but when you look at the running we've got, I was sort of definitely looking at Weymouth at home as an opportunity to really crack on. I know we spoke about this last week, where you have to earn the right. There are no give-me's in this league, but looking at the context of the fixtures at hand, you've got to be looking at Weymouth at home and thinking, we've got to be getting 3 points there because the games are running out. I've always been quite pragmatic about our chances of staying up. I believe that we would be okay. But after Saturday, I looked at it and I thought, you know what? I mean, what a time for our key players to just not turn up and not deliver. I noticed, from sort of back to front, everyone was just failing on all levels. I noticed that there's a local law firm who were match sponsors. They gave Woodman man of the match. I mean, the law firm never, ever lies. And I'd love to know what they were drinking in the boardroom at half time, because I could do with a few pints of that if City are going to be dishing up that sort of performance week in and week out until the end of the season. Tabs, I mean, I don't know. I want to get your thoughts, mate, because we've always been quite critical of the squad depth over this season. And I thought, no one performed. No one really stood up. There was just no courage, no battle. Is it a case of maybe the loan signings, they just haven't got the stomach for this sort of fight? It's difficult because they've shown real sort of courage and fight up until this point. But that one game at home when we really needed them to sort of turn it on, everybody to a man just went missing. You look at the back line, it was comical stuff. It was Sunday league football. There was no composure. There was no character behind it. There was no class. There was literally, they got the ball and they hoofed it as high and as far as they could. And I don't know whether, as the game went on, they started to, a bit of panic set in. But it was so frustrating. There was, positives. There were none. We didn't lose, but it felt like a loss, considering how close we came towards the end. It's
interesting what you say about the loan players, because somebody emailed me about that and saying, is the problem the loan players? Because they don't have to perform every week because they're not going to be in next season. I can understand the point they're making, but I don't think that's true. You perform to your best of ability no matter what, no matter how dire a game you had. We hope you've given your all, even when it's going wrong. Yeah. So I'm not going to knock the loan players in that respect and blame them for a diabolical performance, because we had enough experience out there as well. James Sweet, I know he's just coming on, but Gio Sulu, I thought they were our two worst performers in the first half. Absolutely atrocious. And I would then defend Rio for Monday when I thought he was excellent at Chelmsford. So, it was just an off day, a particularly off day Saturday. But the whole team, it was a collective thing. So it's not fair just to pick on those two. The loan players, well, I'm not in favour of a loan system, because you're not building a team, you're not building a club around those players. Said it before, at the end of the season, they'll all be gone. The 6 we got at the moment, or whatever it is, great big hole in your squad, along with the normal changes. That is no way to build a team. And we got it wrong last summer. We went for statistical data, but statistics of the players. They can do so many passes. But one statistic they didn't look at was the number of goals they can get. And we're just getting 1 goal a game, except for when we play Aveley. People can't play them more often. And this is not enough. Most games, it's not going to win you it. And as we're finding out with all the draws, remember, late goals are doing us right in. So the worrying thing is we've still got the same scouts in place. So either they got to change their system, the way they go about looking at players, or we've got to get people in with a totally different mindset. I don't think all the signings were down to David Noble last year. Ian Culverhouse, you would imagine, has got a much wider grasp of players to bring in, but he's not being able to bring them in. So you wonder, was he ever given that budget? I know we've mentioned it before. I would say no, he was not being given a budget to bring players in, which is why we've gone for the cheaper loan option of the young kids. So again, you can't blame the kids. We brought them in, they've got a chance to showcase. Is it their fault? I don't think so. I think it's collectively the whole 11, Lee.
No, you're right, mate. And to be fair, I think it's a knee-jerk reaction, the fact that we had one bad performance. And look, end of the day, if we don't concede that late penalty, we come away with all 3 points. Okay, the performance wasn't there, and we go into the pubs into the night, thinking that we got away with one, perhaps. But because ultimately, at this point of the season, Jake, it's points in the bag that we need as well to performances. But I'm still looking at Weymouth at home, the games like that, for us to be picking up these points, because at the minute, whether you're an established player who's contracted to the club or a younger loanee, everyone has to perform. And they have been, to a certain degree, collectively, as you say, Tabs. But Jake, we discussed this in the pub after the game, mate. What a time for it to capitulate and for us to, just to lose our faith.
Yeah. Before you start, Jay, you can also chuck in the Chippenham game, because the performance wasn't a lot different from that.
No, I think it was slightly better at Chippenham, but again, it's the matter of it as well, or the manner of it. And it's funny, isn't it? You talk about experienced players, but arguably one of the more experienced players on the pitch is one that threw away the result with that penalty, making that was it a foul, or was it more just a goodness knows what was going on there? To be honest, it was just, I think it was poor defending. It was naive. The minute or two up before that was naive. The goal kick out was onto the wrong side. Everyone had set to the left side, came out to the right. We were able to capitalise. unfortunately, senior players didn't step up on Saturday, and I'm sure they can reflect upon that now. But when you're in this situation, the youngsters of the loanies are doing a good job, but you need your more senior figures to pull themselves up and get a grip of reality. At halftime in that game, we weren't playing well. We need to step up. We didn't. That's cost us. And come the end of the season, those sort of results will cost us. Like Lee says, you have to be targeting Weymouth for 3 points, no matter how they're getting on. We saw on Saturday, they weren't great themselves. But if we can't do it, then come in 2 months' time, when, if we go down, unfortunately, we'll be looking back thinking all these late goals we've conceded. And it's not just been in the last week, has it? It's been a consistent issue throughout the season, late goals, us conceding. And we talked about it a while ago on the podcast, and it's reared its head again at the worst possible time.
That penalty is such a soft penalty. All right, Brandon Mason's just about put his hand on the player's back because the player got behind him. Should never have got behind him, of course. That's where it all went wrong, first of all. And you can see why the referee has given the penalty, but it's such a soft one. Players nowadays are looking for it. There's so little honesty, sadly, on the pitch in so many ways, which is such a shame. Of course, he drills the penalty in. I tell you, the Weymouth game and Chippenham games, I know a lot of supporters are gutted. We lost 4 points from those 2 injury time goals, 94th and 95th minute. But I'm not. The performances were so poor. We didn't deserve anything more from those games. You could barely justify points, only because the opposition was so poor. Well, we got a point out of them. And we come on to Mondays in a minute as well. So, I don't know. You two are probably gutted by the late goals. I wasn't.
I was gutted, but in a way not surprised because of it being a consistent issue. But I just think that however we know we're in the mess, but how we do it, don't care, just want to win. I know, like you say, Dave, we didn't deserve to win, but if we can get away with it, don't mind. I remember good City teams that won a lot of games that they didn't really deserve to win. Even the season that, a couple of seasons we've been promoted, we've had towards the end of those seasons, we've had poor performances but good results. Unfortunately, there's just something isn't there at the minute. And again, when we built this team at the start of the season, did we think about leaders? We've talked about leaders a lot this season on the podcast. Some have been, some have gone, but there's no one been consistently here throughout the season trying to lead this club out of the issues that we've got.
A couple of things you said there, Jake. One about almost you don't care how we get the win. That's how it was. It don't matter how it comes. That's what it was like on the pitch. It was almost a state of panic. There was no, in the last few minutes, no cohesion. Keep this ball. Don't just slice it here and everywhere. Keep proper possession. And that didn't happen. And you also mentioned about the goal kick. I mean, it's getting worse and worse. You can see these goal kicks. All the players going over to one side of the pitch. It's schoolboys football. I mean, that's the level of coaching in the game now generally. It's all going over there. You've got this great big pitch, great big green thing. Why is everybody going over there? Stretch. It's surely got more chance of scoring if you stretch the opposition's defence. Let them defend a compact area. It's a lot easier. God, these blooming daffodils now smell a bit, I tell you. And why clubs are doing that, we're not the only ones. The goal kicks, you're going to one side of the pitch. It's like we used to do about 10 years old in the playground at school. It's nonsense. Anyway, any bits there for you to pick up on, Lee?
I was just going to say, boys, to be fair, even though a few of them act like it, these aren't professional players, and the fact is, yes, we don't expect to win, but the result is always, at this stage of the season, it's always imperative and it outweighs any performance. But that said, the mistakes that Jake was alluding to, they're of our own making. In the 30 seconds in the build-up to Weymouth's equaliser, they're letting balls drop. They're not attacking the runners. It's just absolutely nonsense. And these are players that have served us so well over the last 8 weeks or so and have ground out really good results in the process. So why is it now? Are they losing their bottle? And I think it's the only thing I can think of. They're just panicking. Panic sets in. They're losing their bottle. They haven't got the mental strength to see these games out. The Hemel game, for example, the late goals there, once you sort of get crosses in the box and there's bodies in there, it can fall anywhere. But the equaliser on Saturday against Weymouth, it was just it's criminal. Players of this level, You know, they can do like the sidewinder kicks out, and you know they want to sort of try and play, but all they were doing is hoofing it and inviting the pressure back onto themselves. And I haven't seen that in a while. And I just wondered whether Saturday was a turning point in case of, we've got the goal, as fortuitous as it was. You just need people to see the game out, have a bit of intelligence. You spoke about the pitch there, Taz, and we'll come on to this game later, but I was at the County Cup game last night, and I took a position up on the sideline, and I didn't really appreciate just how bad the pitch was. It's not an excuse, but it's definitely a factor. And if it's now creeping into the way we're approaching these games, it's a concern. I mean, you know, Saturday was just atrocious. And I'm looking back at this now, the late goals and the way in which we're conceding these goals. Weymouth could be the one. Weymouth could be the game that we look back on once the season is finished. I think, you know, that's perhaps where we lost our way.
A couple of things there, Lee. I agree about the psychology of a pitch. For players now thinking, oh, what's it going to do? It's coming to me. What's it going to do? And they're going out there with that in their minds. And they shouldn't have to, of course. That is something it's not going to get sorted out in the last few weeks of the season, you wouldn't have thought. So it's going to be an ongoing problem. And you're right about the fortuitous goal. Ken Charles came off the bench. He ball down beautifully, drilled it into the box, and it just clips off David Longe-King and goes in. And what else did we give their keeper to do? It's incredible. Yes, they were 3 games unbeaten. That took it to 4, but then they lost last night. They're down. Even if they'd beaten us, they're down. And I agree with you both outside. We should be beating. That was one we all looked at. That's 3 points, not yet another 1-1 draw. And the ongoing problem, whether Sean Jeffers is up front, whether Ken Charles is up front, whether Aidan Dace is up there, or even Ollie Davis, we're only getting 1 goal a game. And that's not enough to guarantee you a victory, as we are finding to our cost. That's certainly got to be addressed for next season, but more pressingly, it's got to be addressed over the next 9 games.
Yeah, I think on Saturday, talk about forwards, there was no service into them, was there? I think it was a different story on Monday to an extent, and we'll get to that. But Saturday, definitely an issue about service. And, you know, a lot of fans throw back to the Ian Allenson season when we stayed up. And it's really, football is not that simple. But, you know, towards the end of that, all we did was basically get every forward we had available in the squad, put them on the pitch, see what happens. If it works, it did. If we go down, then at least we gave it a go. Weymouth again on Saturday, again, it just feels like we just didn't go for it, did we? I know we took the lead, but even after that, you know, there's opportunities to go for things. Oh, well, it didn't have to be that late goal. Weymouth first half, why are we not going for the kill early on? We saw against Aveley, go for the kill early on, strangle them, game's done. Why are you not doing that against these teams who, like you say, Dave, are virtually down anyway? And on the pitch, I thought it was very noticeable and very clear how Ian used that. He's not a manager for excuses, is he? But the fact he mentions the pitch, I think, shows how much of an issue it has been for him and how concerned it is, because he knows we've got a lot of home games left on this pitch still to go this season. And if he wants this team playing decent football, he knows it's going to be a real struggle, and he's clearly concerned. And I think whatever happens, as you say, Dave, it's not going to be fixed this season, but clearly some investment is needed literally on the pitch this summer.
We've got something like 5 successive home games, haven't we, before the end of the season?
Yeah.
Oh, fills you a bit of trepidation, doesn't it, Lee, really? It shouldn't do.
No, and look, it's a bad result on Saturday, and we are reacting as just. But I think the fact is that I just don't see any. We are lacking goals, and we're lacking creativity, and we're lacking a little bit of passion and heart. And I think collectively, all of those elements combined doesn't really set you up for any sort of great deal of confidence going into the final run-in. I'm hoping the boys come good. They've performed to a certain level up until this point under Ian and Bazza, and hopefully you can look at these games now coming in. They don't get any easier, and that's why I reiterate. And it wasn't a arrogance about us playing Weymouth. It was more of a necessity and hope, the fact that we were going to get those 3 points, because you don't want to have to go into games like Dorking and Truro looking to salvage your season and starve off any threat of a relegation. The fact is now, the games we have, the points we've dropped are now proving costly because Enfield are now picking up wins here and there. Salisbury are getting a hard-earned point. So whilst it's out of our hands in so much that now teams have got a bit of buffer. And although we were so close to getting out of the relegation zone on Saturday, and now within a blink of an eye, within 2 or 3 days, we're now 5 points adrift again or whatever it is. So we have to start cutting out these mistakes and we've got to start winning games. Looking at the running, Tabs, 9 games left. I mean, realistically, you've got to win 4 of those. And even that may not be enough. You know, you are hoping that other people now slip up. And it's a very dangerous precedent because Enfield have got a good result or 2 in them. Salisbury have got a result somewhere you'd like to think. You're now banking on other people doing your job for you. And I think that is that's where we don't need to be right now.
It's funny you're saying about how close we were to getting out of the bottom 4, because both the Chippenham game and Weymouth games, we went into injury time. In the live table, we were out of the bottom 4. And here we are suddenly now with Enfield winning last night. We're now 5 points adrift. We got this far superior goal difference, which is worth a point if we can get level with these sides. And you look at some of the sides we've got coming up, I still fancy us to get out of it, but I would include a victory in Chesham in that. If results go against us Saturday, then it's going to look very, very dodgy indeed. Right, are we done with Saturday's match against one team playing in Claret?
Yes, please.
In their kit, we go on to Monday's game then. Another team sort of in Claret. Chelmsford City, Melbourne Park. If you take a telescope, you can see the pitch from the main stand. It's unbelievable. 15 lanes, running track outside the pitch. We should put another 20 in there, push it even further away. First 20 minutes, another dreadful game. I thought, oh no, not a third one in a row, this standard. First ball, Gio Rasula did way overhit. We did a load of overhit ones early on, but then suddenly, Gio, I thought he put in his best 45 minutes of the season, first half after that. He got into a bit of scuffle right on half time. The highlights look like he may have gone and kicked a bloke. If you see it from the other side, no, he went in and got the ball quite legitimately, but Chelmsford reacted and all got a bit nasty. He got booked. Charlie Ruff got booked for them, I think. The referee could have sent them both off for pushing, but that's by the by. It was really good, that last 25 minutes of the first half, the best we've played for a while. But again, apart from Josh Castiglione having a good save from Ted Collins, that was the only really time we tested the keeper. And this is the ongoing problem, isn't it? We're not going to score if we're not getting shots on target.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're correct, Dave, again, for once. Yeah, no, I do agree. I mean, Gio hit the bottom of the post, well, outside of the post, didn't he, with a shot? And then aside from that, not much else. But he had chances. We had good balls in. We actually had some decent balls in. First half, at least, we had a ball flash across. We had the corner go in. I say Josh, and I see him get a shot away, and it was a good shot, and it was a really good save. And we played some really, really good stuff, but just wasn't quite there. But going into half time, I think most Saints fans were pretty happy with the position and the state of the game, given how we're taking control. It's again just that, can we actually score? And I think going in half time, I think Saints fans were just a little bit nervous again about if Chelmsford take the lead, what do we do here?
If we had Chippenham mid-table, all right, they've been on a decent run, fallen apart since they played us. Lost 2 in a row, quite heavily. Weymouth, virtually bottom of the table. Chelmsford, very disappointing. Looked a poor side. Well, I'll be generous. They looked a mediocre side that first half you're just talking about there, Jake. Changes coming there. We mentioned last week, manager Robbie Simpson's stepping down the end of the season, giving up football management. Angelo Harrop, who took Braintree up, he's coming in. And they're allegedly going full time. There's going to be lots of changes because that is a very mediocre side they've got at the moment. But we're not a great side. That was the problem. And we were chasing the game. We went a goal down. They attacked. City attack broke down in the Chelmsford penalty area. They broke the whole length of the pitch down the right hand side. Ball comes in and they score. Interesting point, Tim Petty. I know you won't believe it. We tend to have a bit more cover on the right-hand side, whereas Brandon Mason is maybe left a bit more exposed down his side, and both goals actually came from crosses at Chelmsford from that side. It's something worth looking at.
Definitely. I think that left-hand side has been a bit of a concern in the last last week and a half, 2 weeks. Obviously, penalty. At Chesham, we're not there yet. At Chippenham, they caused us some concern down that side, and Chelmsford definitely targeted it. And I say the 2 goals came down that side. I don't know if either was necessarily Brandon's fault, to be honest. I think other players were responsible. I will say, though, that first goal, Brandon puts in a good ball, and there was 2 or 3 Saints players, from at least my perspective, who just stood there on the edge of the box, not attacking the ball. They were just stood there watching it come in, thinking, that's a nice ball towards the back post. I hope someone gets there. Oh, wait. No. Oh, what do we do now? So at least that's what it felt like. And, and then, as you say, Chelsea had that ability to counter-attack that maybe, in a way, we have lacked this season. But watching that first goal back, even the finish, it all just looks so soft, doesn't it? It's a lovely flicked finish, but it's all feels so easy once it gets into our defensive third.
Yeah, Saleem Akanbi got the goal. A lovely little back hit. Well, wasn't even a back heel. He instepped of his foot almost, wasn't it? Beautifully taken. He had quite an evening. Got that goal, got booked, got substituted. Was there anything else left for him to do? But that was it. A spark in front of goal, which we didn't have, as we've said many times. But of the recent games, that was the most encouraging performance. Gives you hope we can still get something from these games and get enough to get out of trouble. But it is all going to come down to the damn goals again.
It is.
And, sorry, Jacob, but we were a bit more solid at the back on Monday. I know we let 2 goals in, whereas we only let 1 in the 2 previous league games. But I felt we were a bit more solid Monday than we had been in the previous 2 games.
I do agree. And Chelmsford, they had some big blokes up front, didn't they? And actually, we dealt with them quite well. It's just those 2 moments of just chaos at the back. And we did have chances. Well, we had Aidan Dowsh had a goal offside against James Sweet on the far right-hand side. You had the ball into the box that Alfie Bendel was inches away. We had Ken Charles's chance in the 93rd minute. And at the time, I thought that's quite difficult. Watching it back, there's actually a little bit of time there, isn't it, to maybe do something more with it other than flick over the bar. And I also think, again, Dion Woodman having to go off with that injury. He wasn't great on Saturday. I thought he was a lot better on Monday. And once he went off and we had to change the shape of our back 4, we just looked like we were struggling a little bit more. So we created a lot more on Monday night. But I say we are just not scoring the goals that you require to stay up.
Ken Charles' chance, a minute before they got their winning goal. You can't help thinking, had he been playing regularly, he's had this long layoff through injury. Had he been playing regularly, he might have just casually flicked it in, might have even drilled it on half volley.
Yeah.
But, it was way over the top, wasn't it? And, as you say, Jake, it was unfortunately very costly. They went down the other end and showed how to do it.
They did indeed. I think we have to give some praise to Zane Banton again. Another goal. He's trying. He cares about this club and he's trying to drag us somewhere. I don't know where it's going to end, but it was a great finish. And, Zane's been a great servant, hasn't he? And he always goes out and gives, 100%. And for that brief 5-10 minutes afterwards, I thought we were going to go on and have a chance. But
talk to me about the officials. Let's cheer ourselves up a little bit. Talk to me about the officials. I understand that they were of the highest calibre. Yes? No?
Well, you say that, Lee, but I've heard so many slagging off of the match officials the last 3 games, Chippenham, Weymouth and Monday. And I think it's overboard. I think people are looking for excuses, blaming the match officials when it's 11 in the City shirt we should be looking at more.
Oh, listen, 100%. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not really one for sort of pointing fingers at officials, but I'm led to believe that Monday's one was particularly good, shall we say.
Well, his name, Lee, you're going to like it for a referee. Mr. Con.
Hey. It was written in the stars, mate, wasn't it not?
I will say, I thought 2 games, Chippenham and Weymouth, I didn't have much complaint about the referee, but Monday night, goodness me, he really rattled me and every other Saints fan on that behind the skull.
Right, for pod listeners, let me explain. Rattled is not even, doesn't come close. The language that young Jacob has used to describe the match official, the referee in particular, was, let's say, choice. Now, I can swear like a fishwife, but Jacob, oh my days, different level.
You're setting me up here, Lee. It was not that bad.
It's what mates do, buddy. It's what mates do.
Yeah, but Yeah, I think we and the other Saints fans were very unimpressed with the refereeing on Monday night. It just felt like everything almost went against us. And what was really noticeable was their back line. Every time Aidan Doush tried to do anything, they wanted part of his shirt, multiple parts of his shirt at times, and it was just absolutely infuriating. And it just seemed to get away with it. So I don't think that ref is, welcome back in St Albans anytime soon. Saints fans aren't best pleased with him.
It's funny you mention that, Jake, because watching from the side, it just looked like the normal disregard of the laws of the game at the moment, where the referees ignore all the pulling that goes on. It looked nothing like as excessive as you mentioned. But again, speaking to Tim after the game, he said from behind the goal, you could see just how roughly, and you picked up on it there, Aidan Doush was getting treated. It was non-stop against him.
Yeah.
Maybe because he's got a couple of goals in his, 7 or 8 games for us. And they were going to sort him out, youngster. We're going to knock you around a bit, and they got away with it.
Yeah, it is no excuse. We lost that game because of ourselves. But there was even another bizarre point where the linesman ball, Chelmsford appealed that the ball had gone out. It hadn't. We kept playing. Chelmsford started playing again, and then the linesman about 5 seconds later thought, "Oh, I'm going to give that decision now." And it's just, honestly, just infuriating.
This
and I
is
think
the problem.
Yeah, go on, Lee.
They're not linesmen anymore, Jacob. You're living in the past, mate. Assistant referees. And Taz, when you're referring to Tim Petty as a voice of reason, we should get him on the pod, mate. This is about the 8th or 9th time in the last few weeks you mentioned good old Tim. We shared a pint with him, didn't we, Jake, on Saturday,
yes.
prior to that Weymouth game? And mate, we got to get him on. What a beacon! What a beacon of light and a breath of fresh air he is.
Okay, if we keep mentioning him as good, it makes you wonder what everybody else around us is saying, doesn't it? Get back to the linesman. In the good old days, they did give decisions. They don't give foul throws anymore. That's gone. They don't get throws taken in the right place. That's gone. The only free kick they will give now is when defenders running back, he feels as forward behind him, so down he goes. They give that foul every single time, even if it's not a foul. Everybody can see it's not. Where's that going? So, wrong size ears on today. And that's the only foul they give. You mentioned those other fouls there. They see them like the rest of us, but they don't give them anymore. It starts like, keep holding the ball for 6 seconds. We'll ignore that and bring in some other stupid law now. 8 seconds. Yeah, that's really going to help. So many of the laws of the games by match officials and the linesmen are just being ignored. So the players, told by the coaches and the managers, and they get to do what they do, and they get away with murder on the pitch.
Yeah, and it is an officiating team, isn't it? And a lot of those on Aidan Doush and other City men on Monday night, the linesmen or assistant referees or whatever you want to call them, are in a much better position than the referee to give those because they are side on and much closer, and they just don't. And fine, they don't feel empowered. But what's the point in calling it, an officiating team when only one man can do it all? And the assistant referee and referee actually both themselves had quite good chuckles when they heard some of the shouts from Saints fans and some of the chants that were going. So at least they found some of it amusing, I guess.
I can't remember, was it Monday or Saturday when one of our lot went charging off to the penalty area, was being pulled back all the time. And he clearly seems being fouled and carried on into the box and he got fouled. And the referee pulls it back, having not blown earlier, and gives a foul outside the box. Well, you haven't blown till he's inside the box. Why have you not given the penalty?
Yeah.
So it started off not blaming the officials, and now look where we are 20 minutes later, boys. Good job, fellas. Good job.
And let's not forget they cost us Hemel as well. So if it wasn't for the officials, I mean, goodness me, we'd be mid-table by now.
Oh, we'd be in Europe. Yeah, Monday night was another 95th minute goal. So that's 3 points we've won with goals scored in the 90th minute plus this season, and 11 points we've lost, 5 in the past 3 games. And the gap between us and safety at the moment is 5 points. Bizarre, isn't it? Right, have we finished with Monday?
Please.
Trying to see if we've got anything else here.
Well,
hang on, someone's stolen one. Blah, 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 blah. Nah, that'd do, wouldn't it? Right, last night, this is going to be a very brief look at our Hearts Charity Cup exit, as we've already mentioned. 1000th game without our scoring, the biggest home defeat in the history of the Hearts Charity Cup. Fifth time we played Albans City, and of course the first time we've not won, and we've actually scored quite a few goals. Wins of 3-1, 9-0, 7-3, 1-0, 2-1, and now a 5-0 defeat. It wasn't a St Albans City side, was it? It was a side representing St Albans City. You were there last night, Lee. What did you make of it?
It was barely even a contest, was it, Dave? To be honest with you, mate. I mean, it was. So we were chatting, weren't we? And I was liaising with Jake and the other fellas on our WhatsApp chat. You can. This is under 23s, I think, for a little bit of context for those who weren't there last night. And one thing I would say, you can see why Ian Culverhouse isn't looking to this particular group to help bolster the main squad. I thought there were flashes last night. I think there was a period in the first half where Alex Pent, I thought, looked strong. He looked decent. He held the ball up well. But other than that, it was really poor. And I had a couple of the St Albans players' dads in front of me. They were really critical. And I don't know whether they're sort of, living their life through their son's antics on the pitch. But last night's offering was absolutely poor. It genuinely was. And if this is the next generation of future Saint stars, then it's going to be a long old path, because there was nothing really there for them. And Welling weren't a great side, but they were really well organised. I wouldn't say they had a couple of players, but again, it wasn't a 5-0 game that you would expect. You want our young stars to be putting in some sort of performance. But last night, I know when Ian and Bazza came in, he put the call to arms to everyone on the under 20, 23s. Everyone's going to come in. We're going to look at you all and get the gist of where it all sort of lands. The players are the under 23s. They're not showing any promise enough for them to be knocking on the door of Ian and saying, look, I deserve a little spot. If you think the start of the season, there was 2 or 3 of them that was in the matchday squad on a regular basis. I can't see anyone there last night that's going to be knocking on the door of Ian soon, because they're just not good enough for the first team level. But if they're going to keep putting the under 23s out in cup competitions like this, then it's going to be a while until we win one again.
Yeah, it is. We mentioned something along these lines last week after seeing fewer of them in the Hart Senior Cup against Potters Bar Town when we lost 2-0, and now having seen more of them, you really do think, no, unfortunately, we've got no backup. They may progress in time, but I think that's being generous. You picked out one player, Alex Penn. Also, I'd say in the first half, I thought James Bone actually did quite well down the left wing. Then after an hour, they took him off. We weren't really getting far. We had 2 one-on-ones. We had a giant in goal, didn't they? Simon, some foreign name. He made 2 good saves in the one-on-ones. I struggle with English names, Lee, you know that. But beyond that, no, they missed a penalty, and it was done and dusted. As soon as they got a goal in 9 minutes, or was it Dennis Halliday, then he got a second one soon after, it was all over. They could afford to miss that penalty, which was Eddie Corbett. He scored one later on. So it's good to see Lane Eady back down the park for them.
Yeah, it was a good player for us back in the day, and he's worked his way down the ranks, should we say, via Hitchin and whatnot. But no, he's always been but he's a nice fella to sort of talk to as well. He's a very knowledgeable player. But again, you look at the setup now we've got for the under 23s. It should be a feeder. It should, there should be the amount of money and time and effort that's invested in that sort of setup. You should think there's at least 1 or 2 players who could really be knocking on that door. And okay, it's one showing. This goes back to what we're saying about the first team as well. We're allowed bad games, fellas. They're not gonna be sort of consistently performing at that level. But there's bad games, and there's just bad performances and bad teams and bad results. And last night for the under 23s, that was all of those.
Yeah, agree. There were a couple of spells which were promising, but nowhere near enough to win a game or even save a game. So There we go. In the space of a week, we've surrendered both the Hearts Senior Cup and the Hearts Charity Cup that we've waited such a long time to win. Never mind. Back to serious matters. National League South is coming Saturday and Tuesday. Two more very winnable games. Two sides totally out of form at the moment. This thing, you don't want to stay in there, do you? I have to get some super glue. Cheshire United, 2 wins in 13. Lost the last 3. 1 point from the last 4 home games. So we're going over to the Meadow. We're going to make it 1 point in 5 games for them. They've got a few ex-Saints in the squad. Callum Adebayo, now what, 79 games for him. Evan Jones, they've got Evan Jones there in defence. And of course, Mitchell Reese up front. So some familiar faces. They got a thoroughly deserved win down the park, but they are out of form. Looking at it now, this has got to be a win. We've got to stop saying, yeah, a point does us good. It's got to be a win.
Yes. I mean, it's got to be 6 points this weekend, starting with Cheshire on Saturday. So they are in poor form. They're not playing for much. Neither were Chelmsford. That went well. So, no, we have to go there positive. I know this podcast has not been positive, and it's hard. People will be like, you're so negative. It's hard. We've seen our team slip from being within a point of safety to now being 5 points off. And even though we've still got that game in hand, that game in hand is Hampton. It is difficult, but we've got to go there positively. Got to go there on the front foot, and we cannot afford to be going behind in games. We've got to take the lead. We've got to take the lead quickly, and we've got to take control as well. I think that's key. We saw at Bath, we saw at Aveley. When we take control of a team and a game, we've got the ability to see those games out. Unfortunately, the last few weeks we haven't really done that. Last few weeks we've been poor to an extent, and we just haven't managed to hold on. So I'm hoping be great support there, local trip, very vocal Saints fans. You've got to be positive from the off and apply yourselves. And if you do that, then I think we can come away with a win.
Points no good at the Meadow, Lee?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's got now, we talk about like the business end of seasons. This is ours. And it's all on the line. We know that some of the players watch this pod. And I think, they've got to step up. Character, heart, show us now that you want it. You've got to within, reaching distance of getting out of the relegation zone. So just, follow through with it now. You know what I mean? You've got to crack on. You've got to show that desire and that hunger, because ultimately, 4 points out of the next 2 games wouldn't be tragic. But as Jake said, you've got to be looking at winning these games out now, because teams around us are going to pick up our results. Cheshire out of form, yeah, great, but we've still got to turn up. We have to earn the right to win these games, Dave, don't we? Hampton, similar sort of situation to Cheshire. But again, no gimmies, no gimmies in this league, and we have to stand up and be counted now, because otherwise, it's all well and good the players coming up to us after the games, saying, "Oh, chin up, chin up, chin up." There's been one consistent throughout this season is the fans. The fans have been bloody brilliant. I've been following this team for well over 30 odd years, and the fans consistently the last 2 or 3 have been absolutely off the charts. They've always been supportive of the players, and look, given the fact of where we've been all season, the fans have been the one absolute positivity in all of this, singing, travelling in numbers as well. And it'll be the same again on Saturday. The fans will turn up. Question is, boys, will the players?
Jake, you said we can't afford to go a goal down. Oh, it's raining here. We can't afford to go a goal down. Last time we went there, 11 years ago, we went 1-0 down in the playoff final. That didn't go too badly.
No. So let's just do that then, shall we? But then I don't know if we're going to be scoring any free kicks from 45 yards. So maybe not. I do understand, but they are still a dangerous team. I think Cheshire have had a good season. They recruited well in the summer. They've got players that can hurt us. We know they can. They've already done it this season. They've hurt other teams. We've got to be careful. But, we've just got to play our own game, haven't we? And like you say, Lee, you've got to earn the right to win. But if we apply ourselves, we will. Chelmsford, we almost did. We almost did. We just were missing that ingredient. of a couple more goals and goals at the right time when you're on top. If we can do that on Saturday, score at the right time, score when we actually deserve to score, then I'm sure we can come away with 3 points. This is a crucial couple of games now, isn't it? You know, Enfield have got a tough game on Saturday. Salisbury don't. They've got Hampton themselves. So you've got to be looking. If you pick up a win on Saturday, then all the damage done the last few weeks, it won't disappear, but we gives ourselves a good chance going into Tuesday night.
Well, Hampton, we're unbeaten in the last 9 meetings with them, 7 wins, 2 draws. They've won once in their last 9 National League South games. They've lost 7 of the last 8. They lost to Hemel on Saturday. I think they 1-0 up at half time, something like that. And talking to my contact at Hemel should have had 4 or 5 in the second half. They settled on a couple. And then last night when they lost to Enfield, dire game apparently, is a slip by the keeper that presented Enfield with their win. Enfield's pretty much only chance, not what Hampton had anymore. And Hampton really going through it. They've got injuries, they've lost form. What had started off as an excellent first season of Alan Julian in his first as manager in football is going badly wrong at the moment. And it could not be a better time to play these 2 clubs. Minimum of 4 points. And you two both said we should be pushing for 6.
We should do, but who's scoring the goals? You know,
Yeah.
Jeffers has gone AWOL, where he's been AWOL for most of the season. There's been a few people online who have been putting all their eggs into the Ken Charles basket. And okay, he's come on. He's had a really bad injury, but even when he's come on, he's lacked that sharpness. Hopefully, that he can sort of get a little bit of that back over the next sort of few games. But other than that, you're relying on a couple from Zane. You know, deflective shots, but they all count, boys. But we need someone to step up. We need our goal scorers to sort of, you know, turn up to the party, and we need them more than ever now. And we need the players at the back to start being, you know, brave and strong again, like they were a month or so ago. We need MJ to be the commander that he was a month or so ago. We need these players now because ultimately we're running out of time, and if we're not careful, boys, we could face ourselves a relegation.
This is what I don't understand about last night's game against Wellington City. Why the likes of Ken Childs didn't start. Give him at least 45 minutes. Give him an hour or whatnot. Because maybe, as I said earlier, had he been match fit, match practice, he might have stuck that chance away. And Alfie Payne's not getting 45 minutes. He could have done with 45 there last night or an hour. And those things like that I don't quite understand. Anything to help those players. But anyway, it's gone, so it didn't happen. See where we go. Right, shall we do some predictions? Rain stopped. I predict it'll be sunny later. Chesham, 2-2. Goals galore. We'll have to get an own goal from somewhere. Somebody.
Do you know what Steve Wales and John Frendo are doing at the minute? Because we could do with them on Saturday.
I had a good chat with Steve Wales' dad the other week. He was down the park. Peter Wales. He played for us in the 70s as well, of course. Yeah.
I'm just so reluctant to put. I mean, look, you'd want a comfortable 3-0 win, wouldn't you? But ultimately, I just can't see where the goals are going to come from. If Dowsey's not fully fit after coming off the other day, you know, that tenacity up front. I don't know what. 2-0 Saints, but that's a real stab in the dark.
Go ahead, Jake.
That's a good point. Lee mentions Dausch didn't look great. Widman's not great. Those making me worry. But let's go 2-1 Saints. Anyway.
What was that, mate? What was that?
2-1 Saints.
Right, back at the Clarets Park, pristine pitch Clarets Park and all that sort of stuff. Last time we were due to play them, I went for a draw, you went for a draw, Lee. Jake went for a 1-0 win. This is a game that got postponed to the start of February. Since then, their form has dipped dramatically. Ours have wavered, if we're generous. You've got to fancy us for this one. 2-0.
What are you basing this on? I mean, yeah, look, I'm with you, but I can't. Yeah, okay, fine. I'm going to go 1-0. But again, who knows?
Jake, yeah, make it a clean sweep.
Yeah, I was going to go 1-0. Let's go
Say it.
2-0.
No, that's
It's
taken.
gone
Get
for
off.
2 now. Go on, say it.
Right.
Say it.
3-1.
Well done.
I don't know
Right,
why.
okay. So that's out of the three of us, that's 5 wins and a draw from the next 2 games, our predictions. So we're safe. We're out of the bottom 4. Right, I had an email from Andy Hammond, who was down at the park for the first time since 2019. Clitheroe had a game. Why I was not watching them, I don't know. He wasn't happy. He was qualified. There's a real lack of quality in the side. Not one Saints player stood out. What a dreadful game it was. Pitch is the worst he's seen at Clarets Park. The Clarets Park experience is as bad as I feared it would be. Got deafened by the tannoy in front of the stand. He said I couldn't hear substitutions. He was standing wrong part of the ground elsewhere, and the goal scorers, because the way the speakers are set up, it's not consistent all around the ground. It's too loud where it can be heard. And the majority of the crowd didn't seem to be bothered to watching too much football. Funny enough, a couple of people sent me photos from different parts of the ground. People, they're not watching the football. The day out for the family.
Are we in those pictures, Tabs? Are Jake and I in any of those pictures?
No, you're in the pub. And there you go. He didn't have as good a time as he used to have in the 70s and 80s. Oh, didn't go in the 70s, 80s and 90s when he watched us.
So did he come to the game against Weymouth?
Weymouth, yes.
Oh, of all the games to pick, hell.
No, actually, I also had an email and a text pills. I might mention earlier about the substitutions. Clubs doing them late in the game to try and take out time. All you're doing, you're adding time. Hopefully, referees adding it all on because it's just another way of cheating, running the clock down, denying the paying spectator their 90 minutes. And you're disrupting the side. Someone who's not been up to speed of the game, he's suddenly got to get into it, and the bloke who's been up to speed has got to go and sit on the bench. But funny enough, it was Weymouth who did the late subs, and they got the benefit of it, and we didn't do it. But we did plenty on Monday night. There you go.
There's so much to dissect in that email, isn't there? I mean, we can't really affect the positions of the tannoys. But one thing I would say, last night, did you notice that Johnny Seabrook, the tannoy announcer, he gave as much gusto as if it was a packed Clarets Park full of 6,000 people, when really there was about 60. Fair play. I mean, consistency is key, Tabs. That's what I would say. But
I thought it was a bit more mellow, Lee. But one absolutely stupid thing last night, because I got their team off Twitter, but they didn't put their Christian names. We at last did, for the team with players we don't know. We did put them. Why we don't do it for proper games as well? Put my full name, Christian name and surname, I do not know. Don't get me started on the Twitter and the incompetence of people doing that. But so I sat at the back while Johnny read out the team with their Christian names, and the music was still, well, it's not music, Rel was still going on while he was reading them out. And I went down and saw him afterwards. I said, Johnny, I tried to write down the teams, and you could not be heard above that Rel. It is so bizarre what's going on down there. The matchday experience is absolute nonsense.
If anyone else wants to email in about the matchday experience, Jacob is going to give you the email to contact right now.
Yeah, keep it to the email. Dave will read that. Podful of Saints on Twitter. Yeah, hopefully everything will be better than that Weymouth game for any new fans that come to or not new fans, old fans that decide to come to a game. I will say, I hope Saints travelling on Saturday, great support, and Tuesday night again, whatever happens, we're going to need to get behind the teams. So thanks all for watching again. We'll speak to you again next week. Goodbye. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye.